heaven and hell. Living in this world, you can't know heaven and hell. I read the contents of heaven and hell in English and upload it on YouTube. I desperately wish to go to heaven. Thank you. Heaven and hell. The form of heaven which determines associations and communications there. 207. That between one heaven and another there is influx but not communication can be confirmed from their relative positions. The third or inmost heaven is above, the second or middle heaven is below, and the first or outermost heaven is still lower. There is a similar arrangement in all the societies of each heaven. For example, some dwell on elevated places that appear like mountains, on the top of which dwell those who are of the inmost heaven. Below these are the societies of the second heaven. Below these again the societies of the outermost heaven, and so on throughout, whether in elevated places or not. A society of a higher heaven has no communication with that of the lower heaven except by correspondences, and communication by correspondences is what is called influx. 208. One heaven is joined with another, or a society of one heaven with a society of another, by the Lord alone, by both immediate and mediate influx, immediate from himself, and mediate through the higher heavens in order into the lower. Because the conjunction of the heavens by influx is from the Lord alone, there is most careful provision against any angel of a higher heaven looking down into a society of a lower heaven and talking with anyone there, for, the moment such a thing happens, the angel is deprived of his intelligence and wisdom. The reason for this will be explained. As there are 3 degrees of heaven, so each angel has 3 degrees of life, those in the inmost heaven having the third or inmost degree open, while the second and first degrees are closed. Those in the middle heaven have the second degree open and the first and third closed. Those in the lowest heaven have the first degree open, and the second and third closed. As soon, then, as an angel of the third heaven looks down into a society of the second heaven, and talks with anyone there, his third degree is closed. By this closing he is deprived of his wisdom, for his wisdom resides in the third degree, and he has none in the second or first degree. This is what is meant by the words of the Lord in Matthew. He that is on the housetop, let him not go down to take what is in his house, and he that is in the field, let him not turn back to take his garment. Matt. 24:17, 18. And in Luke, in that day, he that shall be on the housetop and his goods in the house, let him not go down to take them away, and he that is in the field, let him not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. Luke 17:31, 32. There is immediate influx from the Lord and mediate influx through heaven. There is immediate influx of the Lord into the minutest parts of all things. Of the mediate influx of the Lord through the heavens. 209. No influx is possible from the lower into the higher heavens because this is contrary to order, but there is influx from the higher heavens into the lower. Also the wisdom of the angels of a higher heaven surpasses the wisdom of the angels of a lower heaven, is a myriad to 1. This is another reason that the angels of a lower heaven cannot speak with those of a higher heaven. In fact, when they look towards them, they do not see them, the higher heaven appearing like a mist over their heads. Angels of a higher heaven, however, can see those in a lower heaven, but they are not allowed to talk with them on pain of losing their wisdom, as has been said above. 210. The thoughts and affections and also the speech of the angels of the inmost heaven are never perceived in the middle heaven, because they so far transcend what is there. But when it pleases the Lord, there appears from them in the lower heavens something like a flame, and from the thoughts and affections of those in the middle heaven there is seen in the outermost heaven something luminous and sometimes as a cloud shining white and variegated. From that cloud, its rising, falling and shape, what is being said is also in some measure known. 211. From these things it can be established what the form of heaven is, namely, that it is the most perfect of all in the inmost heaven. In the middle heaven it is also perfect but in a lower degree, and in the outermost heaven in a still lower degree. Also the form of one heaven has its permanent existence from another by means of influx from the Lord. But what communication by influxes cannot be understood unless it is known what degrees of height are, and how they differ from degrees of length and breadth. What these different degrees are may be seen above. 212. As regards the form of heaven specifically and how it moves and flows, this not even the angels of heaven can comprehend. Some idea of it can be presented by the form of all things in the human body when examined and investigated by an acute and wise observer. For it has been shown above in their relevant sections that the entire heaven resembles one man and that all things in man correspond to the heavens. How incomprehensible and inexplicable that form is, may appear in a general way only from the nerve fibers by which each part and all parts of the body are joined together. What these fibers are and how they proceed and flow in the brain, not even the eye can perceive, for innumerable fibers are there so interwoven, that, taken together, they appear as a soft continuous mass, and yet, it is in accordance with these that each thing and all things of the will and the understanding flow most distinctly into acts. Again, how these fibers join together in the body is clear from the various plexuses, such as those of the heart, the mesentery and others, and also from the knots called ganglions, into which many fibers from every region enter and there intermingle, and when joined together in another way, go forth to their functions and this again and again. Besides similar things in every viscous, member, organ and muscle. Whoever examines with the eye of wisdom these fibers and their many wonders will be utterly bewildered. Yet the things seen with the eye are few. Those not seen are still more wonderful because they belong to an inner realm of nature. That this form corresponds to the form of heaven is clearly evident from the working of everything of the understanding and of the will within it and in accordance with it. For whatever a man wills passes spontaneously into an accordant act, and whatever he thinks spreads through the fibers from their beginnings even to their terminations from which the senses are derived, and because it is the form of thought and will, it is the form of intelligence and wisdom. This is the form that corresponds to the form of heaven. From this it can be known that such is the form in accordance with which every affection and thought of the angels extends forth, and that so far as the angels are in the form, they are in intelligence and wisdom. That this form of heaven is from the divine human of the Lord may be seen above. These things have been stated to make it known also that the heavenly form is such that, even as to generals, it can never be completely expressed, so that it is incomprehensible even to the angels, as has been said above. Next, I will post an article that says, Governments in Heaven. Thank you.